Let's go.
Welcome to the show. In this episode of DrWhitty Today, we're shining the spotlight on a controversial topic, honorary versus earned, the doctorate degree. Joining us are remarkable guest host, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, the founder of Sister Leaders, is unwavering in her advocacy for outstanding leadership. She empowers women worldwide to learn, grow, and lead, thereby fostering influence and impact. Dr. Hills Pruden was recently honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Biden-Harris administration. Her efforts towards inclusive participation and respect have also earned recognition from state governors and a congresswoman. Dr. Shawania Marshall, a seasoned educator with 2 decades of experience and a fervent advocate for social justice, has dedicated over 30 years to empowering others as a speaker. Holding advanced degrees in broadcast journalism, education, public administration, and public policy, Dr. Marshall is also an esteemed member of several educators associations, the NAACP, and Zeta Phi Beta sorority. She founded Women of Empowerment and Purpose to inspire and support women spiritually and emotionally. As an educational administrator, Dr. Marshall actively champions social justice, aiming to dismantle systemic racial barriers and embody the change she seeks in the world. Listeners and viewers here and at home, please welcome our host, Dr. Whitty. Welcome to Dr. Whitty Today. I'm so glad that you are here and that you are ready for what we are going to talk about today. You heard it at the beginning. We're going to be talking to Dr. Marshall and Dr. Hills Pruden. Welcome to Dr. Whitty Today. I hope you're happy to be here. We had some great conversation during the pre-show, so we're just ready and we're glad and we're fired up. We're pumped up, isn't that right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So you heard it at the top of the show. We're going to be talking about the earned versus the honorable doctorate degree, or I should say the honorary doctorate degree. So that's what we're going to talk about. There's been a lot of chatter, not just on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on several different platforms. There's been a lot of different perspectives about this topic. And so I thought it'd be a great topic for us to talk about here on Dr. Whitty Today. So I'm gonna open up the floor right now to Dr. Marshall. How are you feeling about this topic?
I am excited and eager to talk about this topic.
All right. What about you, Dr. Hills Pruden?
Absolutely. I can't wait. It's been a lot of chatterbox online, so it's nice to actually converse about it.
All right. So I tell you what I'm going to do first is I'm going to ask each of you to tell us what your definition of honorary degree and then your definition of the the conferred degree. I'm going to ask you to clarify that for our listeners and viewers. Well, I should say our earned degree. Which one do you want to take that first?
You can go first, Dr. Karen Hills.
Okay. So I'm a researcher. So you asked me what I think what I research. So I'm just a very factual person. And so I will take on the earned degree. The earned degree is generally given to one who has obtained a bachelor's and a master's prior to striving for the doctoral degree. It usually consists of some form of one or the other, some form of dissertation, some form of exam, some form of residency. There are all different types of tests and checkpoints throughout the process. Usually it takes between 2 and 3 years. I think some schools now may have accelerated doctoral programs, but I don't know of any that is less than 2 years. And so it's very standardized pretty much in terms of the quals that are associated with the earned doctoral degree. It generally comes from accredited institutions. And it's very clear as to what you have to obtain before you are awarded that earned doctoral degree. There's no ambiguity associated with it.
So I just want to follow up with what Dr. Karen stated. She did a great job of explaining the concept of having the earned doctorate degree. So I'll talk about the honorary degree. So basically, from what I've researched myself, historically, honorary doctorates were basically given to people who were established and have accomplished a high level of expertise in their field. And so typically what universities historically have done, they would basically maybe recommend someone through, it could be by the student body, it could be by faculty, and they submit that to whoever the committee is at the university, and they have to make the final decision if they want to present him or her with the honorary doctorate. Now, as I've read over the course of the years, I've also noticed that what I've read through research, that sometimes people have been awarded honorary doctorates based upon their donations or their contributions to university. So that's where there's a little bit of ambiguity, because historically it was like, hey, you've been accomplished in your field, your area, and we feel like you've reached that high level mark that you are a great representation for your area of study. But through research over the last few weeks, I've also read that people have been awarded honorary doctorates based upon their contributions. So that's where you get into areas where it's like, okay, if you can actually donate, give money, you can actually be selected and nominated, or you can be established and be selected and earn an honorary doctorate.
Yeah.
All right, those are certainly the same perspectives that I've read about, and through online blogs, through different social media platforms, and also through research. And I think it's interesting that both of you did point out the fact that the earned is more on the academic rigor side of things, but the honorary degree is not necessarily, and I think that's where a lot of, like, where some people get things mixed up, where is the academic, the conferred, or as we say, earned degree is based on academic rigor, but the honorary not so much. So it's like the honorary doesn't have the same, I guess I should say, doesn't come with the same rights or maybe authority, if that's a good way to put it. Like, say, for instance, if I have my doctorate in, psychology, then if I've done that, if I've been through that academic rigor, then I have the right and the authority to exercise in that particular field. Whereas a honorary doesn't necessarily grant you that permission to operate in the specific field that granted you that honorary doctorate degree. So I think that's where some people get it mixed up as well.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think we touched on it a little bit, but if we could add to it, why do you think there's so much controversy between the honorary and the earned doctorate? And as you think about the question, I think about some of the things that came up as I was doing some research on the topic, even conversations that I've had with other people. And the conversations really get intense when some people feel that if you were awarded the honorary degree, that you should not require somebody to refer to you as doctor, or you should just hang up your honorary degree and put it's only shelf worthy, or things of that nature. How dare you expect somebody to call you a doctor when you haven't gone through the academic rigor or the dissertation or all the papers that people have had to do, or like Dr. Karen Hills Pruden talked about the number of years that it takes you to even get that doctorate degree. And I can say for myself, oh my goodness, everything and anything did happen during my process. So it took me a good number of years, not because I didn't know what to do or didn't know how to get through the process, but I just had to do things like I had to take breaks. I think I moved about 5 or 6 times while I was in the program. And so there were a lot of different things. And some people have even lost family members, all sorts of things that go on. And I think these are the hot spots that people have when you talk about a earned degree versus an honorary degree. And like Dr. Marshall said, I mean, when you think about somebody, getting a degree because they offered an amount of money to an institution, some people really feel insulted by that. So as we go forward, what are some other reasons why so much controversy, Dr. Marshall?
Well, I really do want to add to what you said, because personally, and just from what I continue to see regarding comments and others' perspectives, it really goes back to that word doctorate. Because if you think about it, when you say honorary doctorate, you still carry that term doctorate. But also when you've earned your PhD or your EDD, it still carries the same term doctorate. So I personally, where I really get a little infuriated is because I feel like there needs to be more of a distinction, because you can be on both sides and still carry the term doctorate. Now, like you said, of course, the distinction is people who have that honorary doctorate, they cannot officially use the doctor title. But then there lies people who truly may not understand that. And that's where it's up to the university to make that very clear. Hey, you will be awarded this honorary doctorate, but you can't tie on doctor to your name. And so I've heard some people, even throughout like just our professional, our website, as our group chat, the doc chat, I noticed that some of the comments were that people who are famous celebrities have taken on that term doctor. Now, I haven't seen it, but if that is the case, that is where you run into problems. And I truly feel like this is where people really feel a place where it's almost as if you're diminishing the work that we have truly put in to earn that doctorate title. There, yes, you are accomplished in your field, but you can't take on that title doctor. And I just believe personally, just for me, I do believe that's where a lot of the tension comes into play, is that people may not truly understand, but they should, because that's the university's obligation to explain to them. And I believe that's where a lot of the chatter, a lot of the conversation really stems from, is that title doctorate. There has to be a clear distinction.
I totally agree. And I think that is where I don't feel angry or resentment behind people who have an honorary doctorate receipt, but I do believe that there should be a distinction. And so for me, there is a perceived devaluation to all of the academic rigor that we went through. There are thousands of people out here who are ABD, which is all but dissertation, because they couldn't make it across the threshold to become a doctor. And so I have a lot more respect for those who at least maybe did all the way up into that point. And so I think to negate the academic process that's associated with the doctoral degree, I think that is where maybe for some the resentment and demotivation comes in, because it is a distraction from the terminal degree, which this is the highest academic degree that you can get. It says something, it means something. It is a distraction from the academic goals of one for this type of degree. If you lump honorary and these type of earned degrees into the same category. And so I fault who presents the degree. Is more what, like Dr. Marshall said, without telling people what the rules are when they are presented. But now there are a lot of non-traditional university and colleges that are awarding even the honorary doctorate. And so I'm not even sure. It used to be just colleges and universities, but now there are other entities that can also bestow the honorary doctorate. And And so by groves, it's tons of people that are now becoming an honorary doctor, and I see their Facebook names change when they are bestowed that honorary doctorate. And so I fault the distributor of the doctorate on not telling them the rules. At least educate them on the rules, and then it's up to them to follow it.
Exactly. Now, do you think a part of the issue is also that the institutions may not be so transparent? And what I mean is, what qualification or what criteria are these institutions using when they select these honorary degree holders? What's your thought on that?
So I kind of like did some research on different universities, and I wanted to see like what their criteria was. And I noticed that there were some slight distinctions, but for the most part where they overlap was, okay, individuals had to have reached a certain level of accomplishment in their field where the university felt as though like they have really met the criteria of exemplar and just an excellent person in their craft. And so, but also where I saw another overlapping criteria was that this person, there couldn't be a conflict of interest where it appeared to be like a quid pro quo, like there was money in exchange too. So for the most part, it was all about being that, you know, meeting the criteria, exemplar person, being recommended by faculty, being recommended by student body. But of course, the committee had to agree upon this person receiving that particular honorary doctorate. So what I also noticed that through just reading, it is the obligation of the university to explain that. And then if universities are not doing that, so when we were talking about where people are adding the title to their names, like Dr. Karen Hills Pruden said, that is the responsibility of that recipient, but it then also places the university, private or public, whoever awarded them that honorary doctorate, they are really in a place where now they're placing themselves in a very compromising situation, because the Department of Higher Ed, then they're obligated to make sure that they ensure universities follow that criteria. And so it's like you start from the top. The Department of Higher Ed, they have a level of accountability for holding universities accountable. And then at that point, if universities are not being held accountable, then that's where they have to step in and make sure that if they're not following protocol, then we may have to consider doing away with it altogether.
Absolutely. And just to partner with Dr. Marshall said, you know, of course, we're researchers, you know, that's what we do in academia. And so, you know, the different number of ways that institutions give out honorary doctorates, you know, for professional accomplishments, such as academic or industry achievements, research and discovery is one category. Then they have the category of leadership, which includes transformational leadership, mentorship, innovation, any contributions to business, government, or academia. Commitment to serve is another category that institutions give out honorary documents, which include any participation in any public service projects or other important endeavors that's important to the overall citizenship. And then you have relationship with the university, which I think is the one that is very interesting, where we think may be associated with donations and different things. It says can include association with the university or a connection between the individual's accomplishments and the university's mission. And so you wonder, is that, you know, donor by indirectly by I make a $2 million donation? Because if you think about and I hate to be the one to bring it up, but if you think about the recent donation that was returned from Howard University, which was $1 million, that was returned when they asked for their honorary doctorate back. And so that gives more of the appearance that it was quid pro quo, because you gave them the money back and when you took the degree back. So when you took the money, you gave the degree. So that part, I think, makes it more problematic, that category of relationship with the university.
Wow, I'm glad you mentioned that, Dr. Hills Pruden, because that was one of the things that I also read about. And that was surprising to me because I considered that conflict of interest. And I think that's where most people have the problem when it comes to both of the degrees, because like both of you have said, hey, I worked my butt off to get this degree, and here comes somebody who, may be a millionaire, or maybe not even a millionaire, but you just have a sizable, a sizable donation to give to this institution, and then all of a sudden you're granted this honorary doctorate degree. So I think that definitely institutions should be more transparent about why they're giving these degrees to these particular individuals, and maybe we should even find out, well, hey, who were the people that you selected? Was there a group, or did you just come up with one person? Like, what was the selection process? Did you select from a group or body of individuals, or how did you go about that? So I think that too would kind of help people understand more as well, and not just look at it as, oh, well, this person paid such $1 million, or they helped build a certain room build one of the colleges on the campus, so they're awarded this honorary degree. And I think another thing that I don't know if belittle is the term, but I would say a lot of people feel like when you do this honorary issuance of the degree that you're taking the work that other people have done to receive an earned degree. It's like and you can help me out here. I don't know if belittle is the term, but maybe devalue is the term that I'm looking for. And I say that because even as I was reading an article last week where I forget the name of the university, but there's actually a university that gave an honorary degree to a cat, an honorary doctorate degree to a cat. And they literally had an honorary diploma with this cat's name on it. And they had a ceremony and everything where they awarded this cat an honorary degree. And that, to me, it may have been all in good fun, whatever. Who knows what the reason why, other than I did read that they felt like the cat was involved in, some sort of social justice, because the cat showed up on campus every day, and the cat had relationships with all the students and walked around to different places on campus and was always there for students to pet, or if a student was having a bad day, the cat came alongside of them. These are just some of the things that were given as reasons. But how do you guys feel about that?
When you said devalue, my mind went to diminish, and it's the same thing. I totally agree that when people are awarded honorary doctorates, it does diminish the work that people who have doctorates have really put in. And for me, that's really deep, because like you've already said, like there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into completing that degree. And once you've accomplished it, and I know when I personally accomplished it, there was a sense of that, the feeling that I had that I can't even often explain because it was emotional, but it was a proud moment. So to what you said, to your point, I do believe that people like us, personally, I truly felt like, hey, when I hear honorary doctorates, because I'll attest to the fact that I had no clue to really what honorary doctorates was until I actually, came across, talking about it, through LinkedIn. And so I can actually say that as a person that has a bachelor's and 2 masters, when I heard honorary doctorate, it was just kind of like, foreign to me, but because I really didn't think too much about it. But once I finished my PhD and we're having this conversation, I'm like, wait a minute, this is what this really is. It does diminish the work that we've done. But I do want to touch on what you all were talking about in regards to P. Diddy. I know that he currently is in the allegedly phase of certain things, but I feel so bad for Howard University, because yes, you may want, now you're taking it back and you're giving the money back, but you're always going to be tied to him for that honorary doctorate. You may take it back, but people are still going to know you for that. And I feel like universities really need to take a hard look at what has happened with Howard University, because don't get me wrong, I know it can happen to anyone, but to me, just the fact that when I think about if you earned that degree, the reality is the university can't take it back. But if you hand out an honorary doctorate and you find yourself in a situation where you've given it to someone like him, unfortunately, your name is always going to be associated with that person, whether you take it back or not.
I agree. I think because it is such a popular degree now, an honorary doctorate, is, now that I'm aware of it, there was a time where I was unaware of it, like you, Dr. Marshall. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm very aware when someone's name change on social media. I think it's a degree of laziness that is associated when it comes to recognition as well. And so when the question was posed, what alternative way can you recognize someone? And I was like, well, let's look into that, because there are a number of different ways that institutions can recognize someone. And I'll give you a couple of them because, again, I'm a researcher. So you can give out distinguished alumni awards, honorary fellowships, medals and prizes where the institution established. You can name buildings after individual, special lecture series and give them an honorary position within the institution to teach whatever it is that you feel that they're an expert in, that you're going to want to give them an honorary doctorate. Public recognition ceremonies, publication dedication. You can give them advisory roles within the university, scholarships and fellowships in their name. You can name community outreach programs after them within their genre of whatever it is that you think that they're awesome in. You can do digital tributes to them. So is it just a laziness of if all these other ways exist that are very visual, very public, highly regarded ways that you can recognize someone for their contribution to whatever their craft is, then why do people go directly to the honorary doctorate? So I think it may be a degree of laziness that's associated with it, because I'm sure some people would love to have a building that their alumni named after them because of the work that they do in society. I'll take that. When you take that, Dr. Marshall?
Yes, and I love that you really laid out thoroughly the good examples, because if you think about it, those are things that will live on and people will always remember, especially like the building, like having a building named after you. Like, because I think about former Congressman John Lewis, like at Troy University, they took down the old name and named it after him. But I feel like that carries more weight. But I did want to add, because you were very nice. I literally, when I thought about what could they give them as an alternative, I said, if we want to honor people, instead of giving them an honorary doctorate, what about just giving them an honorary certificate? Because I was just being straight blunt. I was like, no. Give them an honorary certificate, because guess what? When people like me, I'm not on that status of notoriety or not yet, but where I've reached that level of what people on the celebrity status may consider being a celebrity or notoriety, I'm not going to be privileged with getting something outside of the fact that, hey, you've earned your degree. What else have you done to really get yourself there? But I've done it. So when I thought about that, what else could they get? Give them an honorary certificate. Yes.
Well, thank you. As Dr. Hills Pruden she was naming off a few criteria, and I didn't hear this one, but correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things that I read was one of the criteria to get an honorary doctorate degree might be just because you were the speaker at the graduation, the commencement speaker.
Come on now.
I thought, wow, just show up and do a commencement speech, and next thing you know, you're awarded an honorary doctorate degree. And I don't know if that's the only criteria, but it was something that I saw in the list of criteria for people to be awarded an honorary degree. So I want to ask this question because one of the comments, and I don't have it verbatim, but as we were talking about having this particular topic of this discussion, I read some comments below the advertisement for this particular episode, and there was one person, and some people agreed, that talked about the fact that it's unimportant. They didn't know why we wanted to have this discussion because basically it fell along the lines of the doctorate degree is a doctorate degree. It's not who I am. So I don't feel a need to worry about whether somebody has a doctorate degree that was honorary or earned. It was along those lines. I don't have it verbatim, but my question is, what do you say about a comment like that? Because for me, I'm one of those people that I say, well, no, a doctorate degree is not who I am, but it is what I earned. And I feel like, you know, when a person, because I've talked to a lot of different people who graduated, some who have been doctors for years, and they talk about the different things that they encounter with different colleagues, colleagues of a different race, colleagues of the same race. And it's interesting because in my own experience, I can see where there are colleagues that don't want to recognize your title, if you will. People who make light of it or make jokes about it. And so I wonder how you feel about that, because when I look at it, my thought is, no, you don't necessarily have to call me doctor. But then my thought is, if that's something that I earned, why is it such a big deal for you to refer to me as Dr. Whitfield? Anybody?
You want to go first, Dr.
I'll go first. I'm smiling because I have almost a 30-year history in corporate America, and so when I got my doctorate, and my boss at the time did not have a doctorate, and so she asked me. First, she asked me why I was getting my doctorate. Well, I just like to be at the top of my game, and I'm the daughter of a school teacher, and my mom won't having it. She wanted me to go all the way up to the top. That's, but she has some concerns about others calling me Dr. Karen, because when I graduated, everybody knew I was in school. So all the years that I was working there, everyone knew I was in school. So when I graduated, people were happy for me. And so they started calling me doctor. And it really bothered her because she didn't have her doctorate degree. And someone introduced me as Dr. Karen, and she introduced herself as, well, I don't have a doctorate. And I'm not going to say her name. I'm whatever. And she said her name. And I was like, oh, wow, this may be an issue with her. I didn't think about it, but this may be an issue with her. And then I currently work in higher ed now. Of course, that's our business. Our business is education now. And so there is no animosity, there is an expectation that you go as high as you want to go in education, because that's our business. Our business is to educate individuals. And so in the corporate world, it was very different. But now that I'm in higher ed, it is more well received. In terms of people around me, not a whole lot of people had a doctorate degree. And so they just wanted to know why and what could you do with it. And so I could talk to them about that, but I think they came from a place of just the unknown. If no one around you has ever had it, then you don't know how it can be used and what it means and what work is put into getting it. I was called a professional student. People say, oh, you're a professional student, because to them, I went to school all my life. And for a large portion of my life, I did go to school, getting all of the degrees that I got. And so I understand how it could be perceived a particular way. if people don't understand, but it is the highest accolade that you can get academically in your particular area of expertise, you know. And that's the only way that I can explain it. It is the highest accolade in your area expertise, whatever your doctorate is in, and it means something and it has value in that lane of brilliance.
I totally agree wholeheartedly with what Dr. Karen Hills Pruden said, because when I think about, I just recently had my degree conferred this past February, and I take pride in that. And so I won't name where I work, but I'm sharing this because it kind of ties into what she said. I work in a district where when I came, it was shocking and surprising. We call people by their first names. And so that was new to me because I'm old school. I say Mr. and Mrs. And I often thought about, after finishing my doctorate, I wonder, why are we calling people by their first names? I thought about it when I came, but I really thought about it even more after the fact. And I just take pride in that title. It doesn't truly define me, but it is a part of who I am, and I did earn it. And so when I think about historically who served as our leader in our district, he didn't have a PhD. He didn't have an EDD. And so when I think about historically the person that served in that role for 40 plus years, I often wonder, is that why we call people by their first names? Because there are people that may not look like you that have a higher educational degree than you. And so I think about that. And so just, thinking about what you said, even when I finished, people still call me by my first name, and that's fine. But I also appreciate the people that call me Dr. Marshall, because it just makes me feel as though they truly understand the significance and importance, because I did earn that degree. And so I do appreciate you calling me Dr. Marshall. So when I think about, the fact of what some people may say, they may take a nonchalant approach. Honestly, I personally, I can't see how that doesn't matter when you hear people say comments like, oh, well, honorary doctorates, it's not a big deal, da, da, da. And it's like, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden said, it's nothing to cause anger or to, to really, really just continue to let it bother you. But I do believe people need to truly understand why people take pride in the significance and importance of understanding. People who have honorary doctorates, no, they should not be going around using the doctor title. They should not be changing their name to Dr. whoever. And I do feel like it is a conversation that we do need to talk about. And that is a problem in our society. Some things we feel like are not important, we don't want to talk about it. Well, this is an important conversation, because if people are not aware and they don't understand why people like us realize the significance of it, because just like she was saying, I've been in school pretty much the majority of my life, but I take pride in the fact that I'm an educated Black woman, and I take pride in the fact that I have PhD behind my name, because I earned it. And the reality is, some conversations that people may find as nonchalant are important to others, and to me it is a noteworthy conversation, just like many others that people find platforms to talk about. This one is worth that as well.
I agree. Just like you, it took me years to. I mean, first of all, I didn't even ever think that I would go to college, much less end up being a doctor at this point in my life. And so some of the experiences that I've had, like you say, there are people that will say, Dr. Whitty or Dr. Whitfield. There were people who called me Dr. Whitfield and Dr. Whitty before I ever even graduated. And so these were people that were endearing. And so, it was endearing. It was an endearing term. But then after you graduate and you get those people who they'll just come right up to you and say, well, I'm not referring to you as doctor. I'm going to call you this. Or say, for instance, I noticed that some people, and I won't mention my job either, Dr. Marshall, but I've noticed that some people, like, there's this different energy when they come around you, right? And then there's people who, like, when I guess in their eyes, when I was just Mr. Whitfield, they would address me as Mr. Whitfield or send me emails addressing me as Mr. Whitfield or whatever. But once I graduated, it's like now I get emails like, there's no addressing at all. It's just, I need this, or they'll send me emails that start off with, hey, hey, I need this, or hey, this or that. And so I'm thinking to myself, is this appropriate? Is there some reason for this? I don't know, but I just say that just to share some of my experiences ever since I actually graduated and that I have the degree. So I think, as you said, it is worthy of a conversation, because while we have all those people that say it doesn't matter, and my perspective is it does matter, and it's obvious that it matters. So, yeah. Well, we have went past the half hour. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to a commercial break really quick. And then when we come back, for all of you out there that are listening or viewing the program, I'm going to drop a link in the private chat. If you have a question that you're dying to ask Dr. Marshall, myself, or Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, we want you to click on that link and come up on the platform, ask us that question, or make a comment about what you're listening to or what you have heard that kind of, maybe awoke something in you and gave you a better understanding or different perspective of what. We want you to utilize that link so that we can bring you up. The only thing we ask is that your question or comment is relevant to what we're talking about tonight, and that you're ready and prepared to present your question or comment. So we are going to go to a break really quick, and then we're going to come right back and we're going to continue this conversation. Stay tuned. Presented by Dr. Timothy Felton and Teron Coleman, Black Boys Matter explore the vital role of parental presence in raising Black sons. As Black boys navigate persistent obstacles and challenges, fostering authentic, trusting, and nurturing relationships through positive engagement becomes crucial. Each chapter of this profound manuscript leaves readers with greater understanding and deliberate techniques for addressing the issues these young men face. Get your copy wherever books are sold. Dr. Candicia Randolph's book, The Black American Church, Leadership Dispensation and Challenges, critically examines leadership within the Black church, drawing from historical and anthropological perspectives. It identifies challenges faced by this vital institution in the Black American community and proposes practical solutions. The church's impact on Black culture and leadership is explored, emphasizing its historical context and influence over nearly 5 centuries. Through research and data, the manuscript aims to enhance the church's effectiveness and cultural relevance. Get your copy where books are sold today. Dr. Ian Buchanan, a native of East St. Louis, Illinois, is the CEO of the NIA Education Group. He is deeply committed to servant leadership and addressing inequities. His best-selling book, King, a 4-part leadership framework for Black men, is making waves in the leadership community. His extensive experience spans teaching, school leadership, and advocacy. Pick up your copy of King today wherever books are sold. All right, we're back. We are back. We're talking about the honorary versus the earned doctorate degree. We have our guest, Dr. Shawania Marshall, and also Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, and we have been having a great conversation, and we're going to keep it going. So if you're out there, if you're listening, viewing the program, you have a question or comment, I want you to go into that chat and click on that private link and come and join us. Ask us a question. Make a comment about what we're talking about today on DrWhitty Today. Dr. Marshall.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you, I think you may have said some, you mentioned some ulterior things that institutions could do. Um, what are some other alternative methods that universities or institutions could do to recognize individuals that contribute to the institutions of higher learning other than presenting them with that honorary doctorate degree?
Okay. Really, as I thought about the list that Dr. Carrie Hills Pruden shared, I thought really was very I thought some of the ideas that she shared really kind of touched on the basics of what people really can do if they just want to keep it at a level where it doesn't infringe on people who really have earned it. I think about going back to naming a building. Like, that is an honor, like to have a building named after you that students will go in and out of and be able to see your name and that represents you. They always have a groundbreaking ceremony. That's one. I even like the distinguished, if they want to do some type of a distinguished ceremony for a particular person where they recognize and do some type of tribute, that shows their contributions that they've done. And that's something that they could plan in advance, advertise, and that really could draw an audience that really is going to help them as they continue to elevate in their career. So just having a distinguished ceremony, name of the building after them. And just I just think about some of the things that as an educator that we get presented with awards all the time. So even if they decided, hey, we're going to create some type of award that's for a particular area of study that we want to present to this person on this particular day, that can be done too as well. So those are just three of the things that come to mind, because I feel like what we tend to do in our fields, we do ceremonies, we do awards, we do like things that we plan out in advance where we honor those people at a distinguished level, where it shows that, hey, we are truly proud of what you've done. We want to acknowledge your contribution. So those are just three things that I believe that can be done. And to me, that's still something worthy of honor, because universities are taking the time, carving out the time to make sure that they are acknowledging these individuals who have contributed, whether it's through being an actor, whether it's through, being an amazing producer or a musician. So those are just three ways that I feel like universities can actually show people that have really become accomplished in their work that, hey, we appreciate the work you've done and we want to recognize it.
Awesome. What about you, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden?
Well, I named a number of things, and so I'd like to kind of tie in why universities even want to be associated with individuals through the honorary doctorate. And maybe that will help us come up with alternatives in addition to what I research. And so what I found out through just looking into it is some of the reasons that institutions bestow honorary doctorate is visibility and publicity. Awarding the honorary doctorate to celebrities garners media coverage. It brings a significant amount of visibility to the institution. It heightens attention that can enhance the university's profile and attract a broader audience. And so if you're looking for visibility and publicity through association with that individual, then let's look at what else we can do that is very visible, that could be very public, media worthy, like naming a building and different things like that, that can still give you that broad range of increased attention that you're looking for. And then another reason is the positive public relations. Generally, celebrities often have large followings. They have associations with various institutions. If some of them used to go to that institution as well. And so they can generate positive PR. And so this can lead to a stronger public image for the university. And so let's look at what opportunities for partnerships through, what I mentioned before, scholarships and different things like that, that can assist that casting the net out to a larger number of people. And then it's always about the money. So let's follow the money. So what are the financial benefits that are associated with institutions providing honorary degrees? Well, because of the high profile of an honorary degree, because it is the highest academic degree, ceremonies usually attract donors and benefactors as a result of that, bestowing that on a particular celebrity. And so celebrities can draw wealthy individuals and corporations to the event where they are being presented with the honorary doctorate, leading to more of a substantial financial landfall because of ongoing donations that may come down the road. And so what can we do or think of that will cause an ongoing financial benefit for the university with the attraction and the attachment to that particular celebrity? And so that would be the question for a program or a service that can be associated with the university. And then, of course, increased enrollment and applications. You know, that's what academic institutions, that's how they thrive. It's not just who applies to go to a particular university. Really, it's about graduation rates. It's who applies and then who graduates, because you want them to stay there. But increased application. And so what kind of publicity can they garner as a university and a celebrity? And I think that starts in the high schools. You start at the high school level, about 9th, 10th grade, and talk about the advantages of going to these institutions. So you have them do a round robin, like a media blitz round robin. The celebrities and school officials go around the high schools and talk about why they should go to these particular institutions, and you'll get the increased applications and enrollment that you're looking for. And so there are definitely visibility, publicity, and financial benefits associated, other than the things that I mentioned. But again, I believe people are lazy. They could just need to be more creative and dig in their bag and think about the other ways that they can recognize or they can put on blast the partnerships and collaborations with these individuals.
And Dr. Whitty, I just wanted to add, when I was listening to you all talk, I think about, ultimately, when I think about the honorary doctorate, it really seems like it just really goes back to financial benefits, financial gains, but also to the marketing and publicity aspect. Because if I would really like to see, and this is like further research on my part, based upon people who have come and spoke at commencements or who have been awarded honorary doctorates, how did your university benefit from that following that event? Because, you know, the conversation is really all about, you know, these individuals receiving honorary doctorates. Well, how did your university benefit from that after the fact? Because the reality is, and this is just personally for me, as I've seen people who have been awarded honorary doctorates, once it's done, I move on. There's nothing more I need to know. So I would really like to see, how did the university benefit after the fact? Did they really benefit by increasing people who apply to their university? Did they really increase on, was it just the money that they benefited from? So I would just like to see how universities benefited from even just giving out honorary doctorates. Because honestly, I would like to know, did enrollment really increase if that's what they were trying to achieve?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Measurable outcomes, right? So we do have a person that popped in backstage, Mr. Donald Watts. We are going to bring him up, and it looks like he disappeared. Maybe he'll come back. We'll see. If he comes back, we'll bring him back onto the platform, and we'll see what question or comment that he might have. So Donald, if you're out there listening, I saw you pop in, and then as soon as I was about to bring you on stage, you popped out. So we're gonna move on and see if he pops back in, we'll bring him up. So I think last question. Oh, there he is. We'll go to him and then we'll finish it out with our last question. So I'm gonna bring him to the platform. Donald Watts, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I had to work out some audio issues. I apologize.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome to the platform. You're no stranger. So once again, thank you for gracing us with your presence. What question do you have? What question or comment do you have for us?
So I had a lot of questions.
Oh gosh, one.
I had.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to be long-winded, so I just want to make this comment. Honorary degrees and people who actually went there and earned their PhD. I can see it on both ends because at the end of the day, um, it's all about to to me, and I think to everybody else, it's kind of like it's about impact. And I think an issue is the fact that society as a whole sees entertainers as more impactful than people who are actually the educators out here. So there has to be some sort of way that the educators, when we talk about the people who actually went through and got their doctors and did their dissertations, there has to be some sort of way or effort from the scholars to be able to get down to the people and present um, what they do or what you've done as something that is, you know, like something that's a desired state, that's something that they might want to do. And I think a lot of people are actually trying to go for status, so they look to status. And for some reason, people look at celebrity as status rather than actually being educated or actual educators. So that's just my opinion, my comment right there.
Thank you, thank you. So what I'm hearing is that you're saying, and I'm going to go to you next, Dr. Marshall. But it sounds like you're saying that people sort of are valuing the celebrity status more so versus than say somebody such as myself or one of us show up and we're talking about this academic rigor, that they're not paying any attention to us. They're valuing that celebrity status more so because that's their favorite singer or their favorite ball player or what have you. So that's what it sounds like you were saying.
And I honestly believe that they have a people have a lot of exposure to these celebrities. There needs to be a way that they have more like you. They need to start right there. But yeah.
I like the fact that Mr. Watts, you mentioned impact, and that's a very powerful word. So I will speak for myself. So the reality is, when you think about celebrities, they tend to have more of a large following. They're pretty much more so out there than what some of us may be. And I'll speak for myself. I've always been the type person, I'm more of an introvert, but I'm a 20-year educator. I've been teacher of the year. I think about what I've done and what, over my lifespan of helping parents and families, and even in on the educational sector. So in my personal opinion, being teacher of the year, that is an honor. It may not be an honor to some people who are more into the celebrities and actors, but it is definitely an honor in my field because I think about what I've achieved as an educator, helping students, helping families. It is definitely worthy of a word that when we say impact, I have made an impact. So unfortunately, I may not have that large following that celebrities and actors may have. So of course, they're going to get that notoriety, but that's okay. But when I think about what you said, impact, you are right. And so I can proudly sit on this platform and talk about this topic because I know wholeheartedly that I have really contributed to making an impact. And because I am all about social change and empowerment, I continue to try to be that change maker. So for me, that is worthy of being noted. It is definitely sharing some of my impactful experiences that I've had on my community. And so, for me, that's how I have to share, my impact based upon what you share, because it is worthy of being acknowledged.
I love that.
And again, I think too, Dr. Marshall, it's incumbent upon the institutions to highlight the things that us, people who we wouldn't be called a celebrity, as you're highlighting celebrities, highlight the people that are not celebrities, because that's where the awareness comes in. If correct? Anybody agree with that? Like you said, you may have done these things, but if it's not being advertised or put out there as much as a celebrity, there's only a certain amount of people that's going to know it. This particular part of the conversation made me think of I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King who said everybody may not be a celebrity, may not get to be a celebrity, but everybody can be great. And what he was saying was, you may not be celebrated all over the world like these celebrities are, but you are great right where you are. But right where you are, that greatness still has to be magnified so that uh, the masses can be reached, so that what we do on our level is, go back to that word Mr. Watson, Dr. Marshall said, impactful.
And I'd like to add a little bit to this part of the show as well. Is I agree. I co-sign with what you said. I agree with what you said, Mr. Watts, as well as Dr. Marshall. And I have an example that I think ties both in, that just hit me when you were talking, Mr. Watts. And so Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal is Dr. Shaquille O'Neal, not honorary doctorate, doctor, matriculated, earned, Dr. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal has every type of sponsorship you can think of, from car insurance to batteries to everything. I've never seen him advertise for the university that he got his doctorate degree from. Never. And he has the celebrity status, and he has an earned doctorate that he actually worked on while he was in pursuing his MBA career. Paid for a couple of other people to get a degree just so they will hold the class so that he could take the class so that he could get the degree. And what an awesome story that is. But do we, the public, really want to hear that? Do we really want to hear that? Because no university has ever talked about what he's done throughout his basketball career to pursue his education, which is he had a promise to his mom that he would pursue his education, but pursue his education. But he is well known. He is one of the biggest celebrities. Everything. He hits all of the boxes, but I've never seen anybody use him for education. And obviously he is pro-education. And so he is an example of, we say, well, maybe, celebrities, maybe they shouldn't use celebrities or should use celebrities. Okay, well, he's a celebrity that believed in earned education, and they're not even using him to increase enrollment, to give school visibility and publicity for the colleges that he went to. And I will only imagine is because they think it's not marketable. Because he has, if you can't turn on the TV any given day, he has about 15, 20, if not 30 sponsorships for all types of businesses that are sponsoring him, but never anything associated with education. And so I wonder if they even believe that it is something that could be marketable by putting celebrities who have accomplished their earned education, doctoral degrees, if they think that they can get the bandwidth that they need to get from that in terms of enrollment, in terms of financial endowments and different things like that. Because otherwise, why aren't they using people like him? He's not the only one. So a couple of NFL players that left the NFL to become a doctor. It's a list of them, but they're not put in the forefront talking about the schools that they attended. And I wonder why.
I tell you that, thank you for that, Dr. Hills Pruden. I don't know if you know, but his mother's a doctor as well. So they did it together. So, awesome. But you're right. You're absolutely right. I haven't seen anything where an institution used him for any advertisement. Most of the advertisement I see is, different businesses. So it is a good point to raise. Why is he not being used in that area? Because it makes you wonder what the thought process might be. So that's an interesting thought. Thank you, Mr. Watts. As always, thank you for coming to the platform. We appreciated your input and your question. It's always great to have you. So don't make this your last time. Be safe out there. It's hot out there, so stay cool. All right. All right. So, well, Dr. Marshall, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We are at the end of the time that we have for this one today. So what I want to do is I want to give both of you an opportunity to tell where the listeners and viewers can contact you outside of DrWhitty Today. So I'm going to go to Dr. Marshall first. Dr. Marshall, give us what you think a growth point of this conversation should be, and then tell listeners and viewers where they can find you outside of this platform.
Okay, so first I'll start with the growth point. I personally feel that at the university level, there needs to be a growth point on universities assessing their criteria for honorary doctors and see how effective they really have been. Because I feel as though if it doesn't start there, you're going to continue to have people that are receiving honorary doctorates and changing their titles when they shouldn't officially be changing their titles to doctor whatever. So number one, it has to start at the university level. They have to assess what the criteria is. How are we truly communicating and explaining to individuals what your honorary doctorate entails and what it is not, so there is a clear distinction between the two. So number one, I would like to see that growth point start at the university level, because somewhere down the line from decades and centuries, something has changed. The verbiage, the communication, something has been flawed, because it clearly has been shown that there are some slight variations on the understanding of how people understand the difference between doctorate degrees and honorary doctorates. So that's the growth point. People can actually reach me. I'm Dr. Shawania Marshall. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You'll see the Shawania Marshall, PhD. You can also reach me. I'm the founder of Women of Empowerment and Purpose. I have on my Instagram page at WOEAP 2020. You can find me there. I am an empowerment speaker, 20-year educator. So if you want to seek me out for any empowerment speaking engagements or platforms like this, you can find me on, again, LinkedIn and on my Instagram at WOEAP 2020. And I also have a website too, so check that out too as well, www.woeap.com.
All right, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden.
Awesome. First of all, thank you for having me. This has been wonderful. I can be found on all social media under my namesake. I hang out on LinkedIn, but I'm on all platforms. My community is Sister Leaders, and Sister Leaders, by the way, is a community of men and women who are committed to increasing the number of women in senior leadership. And so we do that through sharing our experiences, sharing education, sharing our networks with one another, through conferences, publications, global speaking. We have the Sister Leaders Conference that's coming up. And so if you want to know more about that, that's sisterleadersconference.com. But I am all about girl power. Don't have any problem with men as testosterone. But if you go to every industry, when you get to the highest positions in the industry, even if it's mostly a female industry, you will find out that it's the boys club. And so my life's commitment is to increase the number of women in senior leadership, because I do not believe it's a lack of talent. I believe it's a lack of information as to what is needed to be in senior leadership. And I've been in senior leadership for 15 years, going towards 20. And so I want to share all that I know to help those managers move from the task manager to the visionary leader that I know that they are.
All right. And before you go, share a growth point that you want the listeners and viewers to take away from today's show.
I want them to take away that there are other ways to honor individuals other than honorary doctorates. And I'd like to see, I named 13 ways that institutions can honor individuals. And so I would believe that some of those other ways are adequate ways if they were put on the table for discussion. I don't have anything against honorary doctorates, as long as we get some standardization in the process. But let's name some buildings, let's call some scholarships, let's do some other things in the name of these people that we love, and it doesn't always have to be an honorary doctorate.
All right, there you have it. Dr. Shawania Marshall, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, thank you so much for contributing to DrWhitty Today. It has been a pleasure. It has been an honor. I'm so grateful to have you, and I hope that this is not your last time. Those of you that are out there listening and viewing the show, you can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's DrWhitty, as you see it on the screen, DrWhitty. It's not case sensitive, but you can find me if you type that in. I'm a transformational coach and podcast host, but most of all, I'm DrWhitty, and I'm so glad to be DrWhitty. So until next time, we will see you guys the next time. We hope that today that you were blessed, that you were inspired, that you were motivated, that you got something from this conversation, and we pray that your mind, spirit, and your heart went to college. Until next time, have a great day. Stand by Dr. Marshall and Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. We still got the after show. Thank you for joining us on DrWhitty Today. We appreciate your time, and your viewership is the heartbeat of our show. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe. Your support keeps us going, and we can't wait to have you back. So hit that notification bell to find out each time we go live. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay tuned.